Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's Last Post ceremony. My name is Gerard Pratt, and joining us today from the Australian Army is Major Stephen Waggoner. We warmly welcome the family of Corporal Ivan Hartlett Harrison, whose story will be told shortly. We welcome the United Nations IED Threat Mitigation Working Group, who will be laying a wreath this evening. We also welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that support them. We acknowledge the members of RSL and Services Clubs Association, RSL Victoria and RSL Queensland, who are watching this broadcast around Australia. During the ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by family, visitors and students on behalf of the following schools. From Tasmania, Our Lady of Mercy Primary School, Deloraine. And from Victoria, the Stawell Primary School and the Melbourne Girls Grammar School, South Yarra. Australia's Federation Guard is a tri-service ceremonial unit of the Australian Defence Force. They provide a ceremonial presence at civil and military events and during visits to Australia by foreign dignitaries. The Guard will now dismount the catafalque party from the tomb of the unknown Australian soldier.
Rest on.
If able, could you please stand and join in singing the National Anthem?
Party attention. Party present. Arms.
Students, you may be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through until the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed in the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we will read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of the more than 102,000 men and women who have given their lives in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today, we remember and pay tribute to Corporal Ivan Hartlett Harrison. Ivan Harrison was born on the 29th of July 1892 in Dububetic, Victoria, to John and Sarah Harrison. He was one of 9 children born to the couple. He grew up in Donald on the Richardson River in Victoria and attended Mount Jephcott South State School. After leaving school, he became an apprentice blacksmith and wheelwright. He also served with the Victorian Rangers as a citizen soldier. Following the outbreak of war, Ivan and his younger brother Ralph enlisted together on the 6th of July 1915 and were sent to a training depot in Geelong. Their older brother Leonard had enlisted at the start of the war and had already departed for overseas service with the 8th Light Horse Regiment. Another older brother, Leslie, would enlist in August 1916 and serve on the Western Front with the 7th Battalion. Ivan and Ralph Harrison embarked from Melbourne on the 11th of October aboard the transport ship Nestor, bound for Egypt. After spending time in a training unit, the brothers were taken on strength of the 14th Battalion in early March 1916. The 14th Battalion sailed from Egypt to France in June and was sent to the nursery sector near Armentières, where Ivan was promoted to Lance Corporal in July. With the Battle of Pozieres raging, the 14th Battalion was sent south, entering the front line as part of the 4th Division in early August. As the 4th Division took over from the exhausted 2nd Division that was subject to horrendous German artillery bombardment, followed by a counterattack as the Germans tried to reclaim lost territory. The fighting was fierce, but the Australians stopped the German attack and Pozieres was held. Both Ivan and Ralph survived the battle. Harrison described the frontline conditions in a letter home. Our first fight was Pozieres and our second was at Moncay Farm in August. The second lot was much like the first, dig and fill sandbags all day and all night. As fast as we could get the trench clear, it would cave in again. The only difference was this time we had it wet. Talk about slush. It's up to your knees and over in places and just like glue. Following the battle, the 14th Battalion moved into Belgium and the quiet Ypres sector. During this time, Ivan was promoted to temporary corporal, though he relinquished the rank a month later when the battalion returned to the Somme. The same month, Ralph was evacuated sick with mumps. In November, Ivan was again promoted to temporary corporal. The 14th Battalion was in positions near Bernafay Wood and over half of the battalion was being used on working parties. The 14th Battalion War Diary entry for the 16th of November states, there was one very little shell fire and no casualties. But a note in the margin added there had been, in fact, had been 1 man killed. That man was Ivan Harrison, who was killed instantly by a shell burst. He was 24 years old. Today marks the 100th anniversary of his death. He was initially buried south of Byzantine Longval Road, but after the war, his remains were reinterred in the Caterpillar Valley British Cemetery. Leonard, Ralph and Leslie Harrison survived the war. After being wounded, Leonard returned to Australia in 1917. Ralph, after being wounded a second time, returned in March 1918, and Leslie returned home in 1919. Ivan Harrison's name is listed on the Roll of Honour to my right, among more than 60,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is on display today at the Pool of Reflection. Ivan is seated, his brother Ralph is standing beside him in the photo. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Corporal Ivan Hartlett Harrison, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun, and in the morning, we will remember them.
We will remember them.
Catapult Party present. Arms. Catapult Party shoulder. Arms. Catapult Party outwards. Turn. Catapult Party quick. Arch.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozieres or in the low scrub at Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. We thank you all for visiting the Australian War Memorial and wish you all a very good evening. Thank you.